National Congress to President Mandela and this generation. And in remembering him, we're going to make sure that the National Executive Committee concludes being united and going out to champion a renewal program. But just again to brief you of how we are going to proceed today. We had our National Working Committee meeting. We had our National Working Committee meeting yesterday. The President attended that Working Committee meeting, presented his own political overview, and requested to be recused upon conclusion. The National Working Committee, in its own wisdom, agreed that he should be recused because discussion around the Section 28 report revolved around the person of the President as well. And as is practice in the ANC, when reports are being discussed, which deals with a comrade, an individual cadre, we usually allow them to be recused from such, so that discussions could happen openly, fairly, and all of that. You know, without people being worried that I'm unable to say this because Pule is in the meeting. So we've done it before with others, so that we do not create an impression that there were separate conditions created for the President of the African National Congress. We do it all the time. When we discuss Integrity Commission's reports, individuals who are affected by those reports are usually asked to be recused from such sittings. Those of you who covered our past National Executive Committee would have witnessed this. The National Chair, as well as Comrade Thabang Makwetla, would have been recused from that NEC, especially when that item was being discussed. Actually, I remember seeing two SABC journalists outside, Samkele and Mzwandile, at the time when was Comrade Gwede and Comrade Thabang were outside. So I'm mentioning this for the makes a different determination that the President should sit throughout the meeting. That's a decision that they will make themselves. But I can tell you now that we are carrying on with the program of the NEC as we had planned. So that's where we are. By lunchtime, depending on where we'll be on the program, we'll bring the Treasurer General to come and do a doorstop with yourselves after you will have done the cutaways of our National Executive Committee.
Is that the President arriving there, Mr. Mande?
Well, I wouldn't know. I'm facing this direction. So it's quite possible.
Just a very quick one from me. Did the Deputy President send his apologies? He was visibly absent at the NWC yesterday.
You remember, Zianda, when apologies were being read, I was trying to assist you guys to be comfortable outside. So I don't know which apologies were read and which ones were not read.
All right. Well,
that was ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe speaking to the media ahead of the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting. As you see, we are here at the Nasrec Convention Center in the south of Johannesburg, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived at the meeting with his convoy. The president yesterday attended the National Working Committee but left soon afterwards, saying that he did not want to be president when his fate was discussed. Now, it is expected that the president will open this meeting, deliver his opening remarks, and then would seek the meeting to recuse him while they discuss the matter. Pule Mabe saying to us a few moments earlier that it would be, they're uncertain whether the NEC would agree to a request from the president that he will not be president during the meeting today. We know on Friday when the NEC had when there was a very short NEC meeting, there were questions about the presence or the absence of the president. We know that former President Thabo Mbeki questioned where was the president because he had said in that meeting that there was something he wanted to say to the president. Now, yesterday at the ANC National Working Committee, former President Mbeki came under fire from supporters of President Cyril Ramaphosa, and where the party leaders said that he needed to have an offline discussion with the president related to Phala Phala. Yesterday, the National Working Committee decided that the report by Sandile Ngobo, the panel set up by Parliament, should be dismissed at this point because the president has taken it on review in the Constitutional Court. Now, it was said that the ANC NEC could not take a decision based on a report that was flawed in law and in facts. The president's supporters coming out to his defense to say that he had the right to take the report on review. We know that the president's office had said to us that they will be approaching the Constitutional Court on today, on Monday, to take the report on review. They've pointed, we know Ronald Lamola, the Justice Minister, who's an ANC NWC member, told the meeting yesterday that there were about 5 examples where the where the report was flawed. Now, it's going to be a long day here at the ANC National Executive Committee. The expectation is that the president will survive. There's been a lot of pushback to any calls that the president should be asked to step aside from his position before the ANC conference. I'm going to rope in my colleague. We've been asked to step aside. We've been asked to move from this position. I will step out of shot for the moment. As you could see, the ANC NEC is getting underway behind me. But in a moment, I'm going to talk to my colleague, News 24 political reporter Junior Khumalo, who was outside the NWC meeting yesterday and has been covering this case quite closely. We've just been asked to step out of the way as a convoy of ANC leaders are arriving at this ANC NEC meeting. The president arrived moments ago. It's uncertain whether he would stay for the duration of this meeting. You are seeing live pictures from outside the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting here in Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. Former President Thabo Mbeki has just arrived at the meeting. There was an indication yesterday that he should be dissuaded from attending the meeting after he came under attack from ANC National Working Committee members to say that his approach, or what he said in the meeting on Friday, that there was something he wanted to speak to the president about in person, was misplaced. There was an effort to say that former President Mbeki should have an offline discussion, a closed discussion with his predecessor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. You would know that former President Mbeki was very critical of President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he has previously said that the ANC should consider a position that said, should the Section 89 panel find against President Cyril Ramaphosa, what would the party position be? Mbeki has been extremely critical of the Ramaphosa administration, but particularly how the ANC handled the accusations around Phala Phala, and exactly what the former president had said publicly, that the party was not prepared for a scenario where the parliamentary inquiry finds that the president has a case to answer. That came true last week, Wednesday, when the report by the panel led by former Chief Justice Sandile Ngobo found that President Cyril Ramaphosa has a case to answer, in that he may have violated the constitution and anti-corruption laws in relation to his Phala Phala dealings. I'm going to rope in my colleague now, Junior Khumalo. Junior is a senior political reporter at News 24. Junior, yesterday you were here at the ANC National Working Committee. The president recused himself. What was the justification given as to why the president did not want to be present when this report is discussed?
So the president said that as per ANC culture and tradition, if a report is discussing you are not, it will be better if you are not there, so that you allow the people to discuss the matter freely without your presence. So he gave an example that other issues that were discussed with the former chairperson, when it was a matter against him, then he was also not present. So it's a precedence that was set.
And we know that today ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe says they're unsure whether the NEC would allow the president to leave this meeting. What do you think is the mood around the president being present today to hear the opinions of ANC NEC leaders around the Phala Phala matter?
So the assumption is that if the president is there, there might be an antagonistic situation that arises, especially with the former president Thabo Mbeki wanting to address him. So the thinking around that is that if he's not there, then people can just deliberate on the matter at hand and just speak on that and allow it to proceed. So, but the likelihood is he's going to be there the whole time. He's going to be allowed to sit in, and he has a lot of support in the NEC. So it seems like he's definitely going to survive this.
Let's talk about Mbeki. Earlier, we saw pictures of former President Thabo Mbeki arriving at this meeting. He has been, fashioned himself as quite outspoken around this Phala Phala matter, saying that the president should be held accountable, and why wasn't the ANC prepared for such an eventuality? There was a lot of discomfort about the former president's approach to the matter. Do you think that we're going to see a continuation of that now that he's physically present as well today?
I think we are definitely going to see a continuation of this. The ANC was definitely not prepared, and Mbeki has been justified, because right now the panel came, they said he has a case to answer, and now it looks like they created a crisis for themselves, because on Friday they called a special NEC and they didn't follow the right processes. Now we are here, we are back again at the NEC meeting, so we are likely to see I told you so from Thabo Mbeki, telling them that you should have prepared a long time ago. The president also has not been open with his own party. He hasn't told them the nitty-gritties of what really happened. So I think that's what is annoying a lot of the people that are participating. They just want him to be a bit open, confide in them. But also the problem with the ANC is that once you confide in any of these people, it's going to be leaked out there. So I guess that's why the president is also a bit uncomfortable with that.
Yeah. So Junior, earlier we saw an effort to rally behind the president. There was a protest that was planned for this morning to come out in support of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Just can you tell us what are the sites just a few meters away from where we are currently standing?
So there's quite a few people that have pitched today, a small group around 30 to 40 people that have come in support of the president. We've seen deputy ministers are also part of that. ANC staff members from Luthuli House are also part of that as well. So there is a bit of support that they are showing the president. So we're expecting it to grow outside, because SATU has also said that they are going to attend definitely. So we expect bigger numbers to come out. But there's also a small group led by Qaanitah Hunter that is also calling for the president to leave. So there's a bit of opposition outside as people call for him to leave. Some of them are calling for him to stay, but it seems like he has more support than people that are calling for him to step aside.
All right, let's recap where the ANC NEC is at the moment. The ANC's National Executive Committee is meeting here in Nasrec in the south of Johannesburg. They are considering the Section 89 panel report that found that the president may have violated the constitution and anti-corruption laws in relation to how he dealt with the Phala Phala scandal. That report is now going to be presented in Parliament on Tuesday, where it's going to be debated and MPs would have to vote for its adoption. The ANC's National Working Committee yesterday argued the matter, and there was a decision that they should recommend to the NEC meeting, which is the highest decision-making body of the ANC in between conferences, that ANC MPs should be instructed not to adopt the report while the president takes it on review. We don't know exactly what arguments that the president will make to the Constitutional Court. We don't even know if the Constitutional Court will entertain a review of this report, which we know its findings are not binding. But the president is taking the matter to the Apex Court. We understand that the main crux of the president's argument is that he that the Sandile Ngcobo report went beyond what it was asked to do. That's the first thing. The second thing, we understand that they pointed to the fact that it was material, it had factual errors in it, and that the president's version was not wholly considered. Now, we know the president told the panel in a written submission that the burglary that took place in February in 2020, was something that took place, and he told the head of the Presidential Protection Unit, Wali Ruda, about the matter, and the fact that the matter was not investigated by police was not his problem. But basically, the president also insisted that the funds was not the $800,000 as indicated, that it was only $580 and that it was the proceed of the selling of 20 buffaloes to a Sudanese businessman on Christmas Day in 2019. The panel found a lot of holes in the president's version, did not accept the president's version, and said that there should be a full-blown inquiry now to investigate the matter. Now, the investigation by the Section 89 committee in Parliament, which would basically impeach the president if successful, is determined on whether this report by Sandile Ngcobo is adopted. They need a simple majority. We know that opposition parties will tomorrow make the case for the report to be adopted, and they would need about 40 or so ANC MPs to support the motion for the president then to face an impeachment inquiry. As you can see behind me, things are pretty quiet at the moment. The meeting has begun. We saw earlier Ministers Lindiwe Sisulu, who have been vocal against President Cyril Ramaphosa, arriving at Nasrec here for this meeting. We're unsure how long it's going to last throughout the day, but what's important is that the tone has been set for this meeting. The tone has been set for this meeting by the ANC National Working Committee. We also understand as News 24 that even President Cyril Ramaphosa's detractors may not want to call for him to be removed just 11 days before conference. And so it will be interesting to see how it plays out in the meeting. There is an argument to say that the president must go and subject himself to the parliamentary process. This NEC will have to give the definitive line of march whether the president actually gets hauled before that Section 89 committee when it's set up after the adoption of the report by Sandile Ngcobo and his peers. It's going to be a long day here in Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. News 24 has all the details for you. We're coming to you live throughout the day. Follow us on news24.com. You can follow us on all our various social media platforms.